hours of preening. Hours and hours of preening. I just can't find the words today. It's not happening. I am literally just and a load of nonsense is coming out. I can't talk. This is embarrassing. Oh, my hair feels so weird. Hi everyone, and welcome to Inside Number 23, my podcast, which is all about knitting and sewing and living the most crafty life possible. My name is Katie, and you can find me on all the various social medias, so Instagram and Ravelry and Periscope as Miss Lavelli. You can also find the group for the podcast on Ravelry. Just search Inside Number 23 in the groups tab. And I'm coming to you, as always, from Hertfordshire, which is just north of London in the UK, where I live with my lovely husband Emrys and Rolly the pug. Welcome back if you are a long-time viewer, and a huge hello and welcome if you are one of the many new viewers that I've acquired recently. Hello, and I hope you enjoy spending a little bit of time with me talking about some awesome crafty bits and pieces. We are officially in autumn now, you guys. I know that a lot of you thought I was jumping the gun getting excited about autumn at the beginning of September, although I think that it's autumn as soon as it turns September, but now officially we are in autumn and I couldn't be happier. It's been a very busy week here for me. We are preparing for both mine and Emrys's birthdays, which are coming up at the end of this week. And I have got a lot of stuff to share with you this week. I've been pretty busy and I'm excited to share some of this stuff with you. I'm actually coming to you a day later than usual. I usually podcast on a Sunday and upload on a Monday, but today I'm actually recording this on a Monday, and fingers crossed I will still be able to upload it today, so you'll still have your Monday episode as usual if I can get my editing done nice and quickly. But I do feel slightly out of sync about podcasting on a Monday, which is really bizarre because it's only one day difference, but it does feel a little bit odd, so forgive me if I seem a little erratic or confused. Also, please forgive me if you find me fiddling with my hair throughout this episode. Nothing extreme, but I just changed the side that my parting was on. It was on this side and now it's moved to this side, and I don't know if you've ever done that, but it does feel incredibly odd when you do it for the first time. I thought I'll be crazy and part my hair on the other side, and now it just feels weird. So hair fiddling, please forgive. And yeah, random information that you probably didn't need to know. Before we get started with all the knitting and the sewing and all of that good stuff, I do have a little bit of admin just to get us started, as always. So first of all, we have an ongoing sew along that's carrying on in the Inside Number 23 Ravelry group. It is for the Hollyburn skirt, and it is going to be coming to a close at the end of this week. I have a few more video tutorials to upload, but I have a playlist of all the previous tutorials if you'd like to check them out. But there's still time to post in the finished object thread if you want to be eligible for some prizes, and I will be announcing those hopefully within the next couple of weeks. It's very exciting, and again, thank you to everybody who's been involved so far. You have made some beautiful projects and I'm super impressed. We also have a knit along which will be starting soon, which I'm co-hosting with lovely amazing Marsha of the Twitch and Stitch podcast. It is a colourwork KAL. It will be starting on October 1st and going through until December 1st. Works in progress, whips are more than welcome. Double dipping, you are encouraged to double dip, so do get involved in multiple knit alongs if you want to. But basically it's any project involving colour work, so no just striping yarn. We want FairyLittle or intarsia or mosaic knitting, and Marsha has some incredible projects lined up. You should definitely check out her Instagram because she's already got started. I'm going to be working on some whips and possibly starting a new project, but do get involved with us because it's the perfect time of year for kind of beautiful colour work, cardigans and sweaters and gorgeous things like that. But obviously any project of any size is 100% acceptable. I also want to give a quick shout out to Nathan of Sockmatician podcast. Hi Nathan! Nathan is also going to be hosting a colourwork KAL. It's a stranded KAL though, so it's basically FairyLittle techniques are are being used. Please feel free to double dip with Nathan's KAL, get involved. One thing I would say, Nathan is not accepting works in progress. It has to be a new project that you're starting for his KAL, so bear that in mind. If you want to double dip in both of ours, myself and Marsha are accepting works in progress, but Nathan is not. So maybe start something new and fancy, but I'm very excited to see what he's going to be casting on. I think he's doing some colourwork mittens, which is going to be really, really lovely. But yeah, basically, stranded knitting and colourwork is all around at the moment. So do get involved with that, and I'll be really excited to start hopefully a new project, and definitely get my Bowland cardigan off the needles, as that has been languishing for far too long. One more administrative thing, and that is a little bit of talk about scheduling for this podcast. As you know, I usually upload every Monday a podcast for you guys, but this coming Friday is my birthday, and the Sunday after that Friday is Emrys's birthday. So I have decided that next week I am going to be taking a week off of the podcast. I just want to enjoy both of our birthdays, spend some time with family, and not have to worry about scheduling a podcast in. So your next episode of Inside Number 23 will be in 2 weeks' time. I'm sorry about that. Please don't be too disappointed, because I'm very excited to announce that this year I am going to be doing a little bit of Vlogtober. And those of you who don't know what Vlogtober is, it's basically daily vlogging every day throughout October, which is very much along the same veins of Vlogmas that I did last year on this channel. So I will be uploading small videos on a daily basis, hopefully, if I can get my act together, throughout October, because there's going to be some really exciting stuff happening. Obviously birthdays, but we're going to some yarn festivals. We're also going to be going to Florida in October. So I just wanted to share that with you, and plus October and autumn in general is one of my favourite times of year, so documenting that was always going to be something that I was super excited to do. Although there isn't going to be a full podcast next week, I am going to start uploading my daily vlogs from the beginning of October. Also, the week after that, so the week that I'm going to be returning to the podcast, scheduling may be a little bit off, because I'm actually going to be going to the knitting and stitching show on the 9th of October, which is a Sunday, with my mum, which is obviously usually the day that I upload a podcast. Hopefully I'll be able to get something together a little earlier in the week, so I will still be able to have that uploaded for the Monday following, but basically things may be a little all over the place for the next couple of weeks. The best way to know 100% when there's a new video on my channel is, of course, just to subscribe and get notified when I do upload a new video. But no episode next week, definitely an episode in 2 weeks' time, but possibly a little bit different in terms of when it will be uploaded. Whew, that was a lot of kind of unnecessary talking around scheduling, but yay! Before we get started, I just want to say a huge thank you to one of my viewers, Jocelyn, who is muffinmegnme on Ravelry, and Jocelyn actually sent me a really, really beautiful pattern this week. It is called the Where's My Poodle Cardi, and it's absolutely stunning. It's kind of lace and cables and gorgeousness, cropped 3/4 length sleeves, everything that I love about a cardigan. And Jocelyn, I just wanted to say a huge thank you. It's very much appreciated, and thanks for watching the podcast. Okie dokie, now all of the administrative stuff is done, we can move on to the good stuff, and I'm going to start this week with, what am I wearing? And yes, I am wearing my Chuck sweater again, which I finished a few weeks ago now. Still absolutely in love with it. This is a pattern by the incredible Andy Satterland, who I am just still head over heels in love with in terms of being a designer, and I just can't get enough of this jumper. It is beautiful, it is warm, it is comfortable, and it's going to be a staple for autumn, I think. One thing I did want to mention about this jumper is that something that a lot of you have been requesting for quite some time is that I start updating my Ravelry project on a more regular basis, because those of you who have visited my Ravelry page will know I have very few projects on there, and those of them that I have uploaded are incredibly old and out of date. It's been a bit of a struggle. I haven't necessarily thought I have time to upload Ravelry projects. I found the whole process a little bit tedious. Although a lot of you have wanted that, I just haven't felt that I've had enough time. However, recently I've started just every few days or so uploading a couple of pictures, putting in a couple of details for different projects, and I've been really enjoying the whole process of kind of documenting my projects. As yet, I haven't uploaded a huge amount. I've created a page for my Chuck sweater and for my Sophie cardigan, but hopefully in the next, you know, several months, because it is going to take me a while, I'm going to start uploading it on a more regular basis, and I will link my project pages in my show notes on Ravelry, just so that you can see the completed projects and any notes that I may have added about different yarns that I've used and that type of thing. So hopefully that will make your viewing a lot more pleasurable, because you'll be able to see the details of these projects and it'll be a lot more simple for you. So yay for organising and uploading my projects properly for a change. On a little bit of a kind of side note relating to Andi Satterland, there are so many of her projects that I have queued, you guys. I'm very, very tempted to do a kind of Andi Sat-along. And knit along involving Andi Satterland's patterns, and I just wanted to put it out there, put a couple of feelers out there and see if anyone would be interested. We probably wouldn't be starting for a while, because obviously I'm going to be hosting the Colour KAL with Marsha, but I was thinking possibly December, January time, you know, new year, new sweater, amazing designer. But yeah, let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below or comment on this post in the Ravelry group for this episode, and maybe we could get that going, because yeah, I want to knit about 4 other designs by Andi, so you know. Another quick what am I wearing, because I'm not technically wearing it right now, but I have been reaching to it every day since the weather has cooled down, and that is my void shawl. Oh my goodness, I love this shawl. So if you've been watching for a while, you'll know that we were doing the void along, myself and my lovely, lovely friend Eric of the Sticks Plus Twine podcast, who I have missed over the summer because he's been so busy. He hasn't uploaded an episode in a while, but I've got a feeling that he's going to be uploading one later today, so I'm very excited about that. Hey Eric, I miss you. But yes, it's finally getting to the point where I can actually wear my void shawl out, and oh my goodness, you guys, I love this. I love it so much. It's so gorgeous. I made it with Quince & Co. Lark in the Chanterelle colourway, and it is a dream. I knew that I would be reaching for this every day in kind of autumn winter to wear it, but I just didn't know how much I would love it. Almost every picture I've posted on Instagram in the last several days is of me wearing this shawl, and that is a true representation of how much I've been wearing it. And I tend to wear it, as a lot of people always ask how I wear my shawls, kind of with the ends tucked over like that, and then I'll just pull out the front and have the ends hanging down. So I have my 2 little pointy ends hanging. I have this lovely squishy bit around my neck, and yeah, generally this is how I wear it. I'll just pop up so you can see a little better. It's just very relaxed and squishy. If I want to be extra super cozy, I will kind of tuck the ends up inside this big fold, and then it's more of a cowl almost. So if I want to be extra cozy, and then I can stick my face in there. It looks ridiculous, like I have no neck. But yeah, that's how... Oh dear, right at the beginning of the podcast and we're already being ridiculous. But yes, I love this project. I loved this pattern. It's by Melanie Berg, who I think is incredible. The yarn is a dream. I just want to buy shed loads of Quince & Co. Lark and make all of the big chunky cardigans and shawls, and oh, I love it. Basically, I couldn't be more enthusiastic about this project, and I'm just really happy for it to finally be the time of year where I can start getting these things out of my knitted storage and start wearing them, because a lot of work and a lot of love went into this, and I'm just really happy that I am enjoying wearing it as much as I thought I would. Okay, so moving on to our next segment, which is of course, what's on my needles? And as I said, I have been doing a lot of knitting, and I appear to have got a lot of stuff done, because you guys, this week I have not 1 but 2 finished objects. 2 finished objects, and the first one is top secret, but it's fine because Emrys isn't going to watch this and he isn't in the house right now, he's at work. But I have finished one of his birthday presents, which I showed you last week, which I had started, which is the antler hat. This is the antler hat. It is a free pattern on Ravelry and from Tin Can Knits, and as you can see, yep, I made it with the same yarn that I made my Chuck sweater in, which is a Knit Picks yarn, worsted weight, and it's the cadet colourway. And look at how amazing this is. Look at those cables. This pattern, you guys, is incredible. For a free pattern, it is so fun. It's so informative and clear. And I really, really think that Tin Can Knits, this is the first pattern that I've ever made from a Tin Can Knits pattern. And now I just want to make everything that they do. I think that their patterns are incredible and I want all of them. I made a few adjustments to this hat. I knitted the adult large size because both Emrys and myself have quite large heads and I wanted to make sure that it would fit properly. But I did make a couple of adjustments to the repeats and the length that was given because Emrys likes to wear hats that are quite close fitting on his head. He tends to wear quite small, tight hats. And this called for, I think, 9 repeats of the kind of antler pattern that we've got along here. And I ended up only doing 7 repeats before I started doing the decreases. And that has given me really quite a short little hat, but that's perfect for Emrys because that's the style that he tends to wear. The nice thing about it as well is that if it's cold, he can wear it with the rim down and then it will cover his ears. But if he just wants to have it kind of on the back of his head, he can turn the rim up like this. And then it's just a kind of much shorter hat that sits on the back of the head. I am going to show you what it looks like on me. It's going to look ridiculous because I'm going to be matching, but here goes. So like I said, this is what it looks like. Oh, I've got thread hanging down. This is what it looks like with the rim down. It covers the ears. It's really nice and cozy and warm. I look a bit like a Smurf in that. And then if we fold up the rim, it's a lot tighter, if you can see. And it just sits on the back of the head. And yes, it looks a bit ridiculous on me, I realise, and I am crushing my hair in the process of showing it to you, but I really, really wanted to make sure that I had some nice handmade gifts for Emrys for his birthday, and I now have the hat and some socks, and I'm just really thrilled with them. I do want to make him a sweater. I may challenge myself to make him a sweater for Christmas now, because I have been promising it for a while. I don't know whether or not it will be a Harry Potter style sweater that I've been talking about making for him for ages, as you'll know if you've been watching for a long time, or one of the new cabled sweaters from the new Brooklyn Tweed collection, because oh my goodness, they are incredible. Go and check them out. Jared Flood's new collection of sweaters and autumn winter stuff from Brooklyn Tweed. I would really like to do that for him because it's been a very, very long time since I've actually knitted him a garment. But I am very happy to have his lovely hat finished for his birthday. I just need to obviously sew in my ends and do a little bit of light blocking with this and it will be all good to go. And I really hope he likes it. I'm very nervous, but obviously I'll keep you up to date as to whether or not he likes it. My next finished object, you guys, is kind of, it's difficult to show it to you and I am disappointed in myself for that because it is my Sophie cardigan. My Sophie cardigan by the incredible Jennifer Wood, who I just love all of her patterns. Do check her out on Ravelry because she's amazing. But I finally managed to finish this cardigan this week and I am completely and utterly in love with it. The issue is that I have started to block this sweater and it's still not dry. It's not dry, so I can't properly show it to you. I can't try it on for you, but I have very carefully moved it from where I had it lying out blocking into this room with me, so I can at the very least kind of show you it completed. And then in my next episode, I promise I will have a full showing off of this cardigan on me, out in the wild, looking amazing. So Please bear with me on that because it's just not ready, and I wouldn't want to put it on when it's still wet because it's still blocking. But I'm going to very gingerly lift it up and show you. This is really hard to do. Here she is. She's finished and part way through blocking. And if I can just show you the back, that's probably better. There's the completed back panel. Let's see if it will. There we go. It's blowing out a little bit, but you can see the patterns better. But yes, she is all done. I finished the second sleeve, this sleeve, the other day. I've also finished the neckband, and there's a really lovely detail that you do in order to create the button band for this pattern. I'm not going to talk about it because it's a paid for pattern, but basically I am still completely and utterly in love with this cardigan. I want to make 100 more Jennifer Wood patterns, and to be honest, I'd be more than happy to make them in this yarn. This yarn is of course John Arbon Textiles in their Viola yarn. It's 100% merino, and this is the Aquarius colour, but it is completed, but it is still in the process of blocking, and because of that I am going to quickly go and lay it back down because I don't want to undo all of the good that I have been doing with the blocking. It's still quite damp, so it definitely needs maybe another day sitting in the sun, drying out to be perfect. But I'm going to pop that back and I will talk a little bit more about the pattern once I've done that. So Sophie is all laid out again. That was quite stressful, picking it up and bringing it on here, but I didn't want, you know, obviously because there's going to be a bit of a gap between episodes. I know that a lot of you have been seeing the cardigan on Instagram and we're very excited about seeing it finished, so I at least wanted to give you a little sneak peek of how it is going to look when it's finally finished blocking. But yes, I didn't want to undo the blocking that I've already done, so I've quickly laid it out and it's all fine. There's only one detail left with the Sophie cardigan, and that is adding buttons. And I went out and I found the perfect buttons for this project, and these are the buttons that I have picked. They are this antique brass kind of floral gorgeousness. I love them. I think they're going to look beautiful on that green cardigan. I really can't talk more highly about Jennifer Wood and her patterns. I genuinely do want to get another one of her projects on the needles very, very soon. I am really quite sad that I finished my Sophie cardigan now because I don't have a good equivalent to it. I don't have any other fun cabled projects on the needles at the moment, which is gonna leave me a bit stir crazy, I think. But yes, Jennifer Wood, amazing, absolutely loved it, and I want to cast on all of her designs. Pretty much all I'm saying about anything at the moment, isn't it? I want to cast on everything. All the sweaters and cardigans. But moving on from finished objects, I do still have a couple of works in progress going on. And the first one is living in my amazing Socksettra bag, which was sent to me by wonderful Shannon of the Socksettra podcast and the Socksettra bag shop. And I love you, Shannon. Hi, I miss you. And in here is living a very special sock project, which I have shared with you before. And that is my Harley Quinn socks. And yes, not a huge amount has actually gone on with these socks this week because I have been ploughing on with my cardigan, I've been finishing Emrys's hat, and I also have a new cast on which I'm going to share with you. Very exciting. But I have started doing the decreases on the gusset for these socks now, and I just love them. I love this pattern. The Jelly Rolls pattern is so much fun to knit. I love the yarn, which is Daddy's Little Monster by Mother of Pearl, Danielle of Mother of Pearl. Hi Danielle, if you're watching. This is incredible. It's inspired by Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie's portrayal of Harley Quinn in the new Suicide Squad movies. And it's so pretty. And I am also using blue and red mini skeins for the cuff and the heel detail, which is the opposite on my other sock. So if you can see here, I've got the blue detail in here, red detail in here, and then a red cuff and a blue cuff, because who wouldn't want alternating Harley Quinn socks in this yarn? And yes, I have been incredibly distracted by garments. That is where my brain is at the moment. Now that we are officially in autumn, all I can think about is having a wardrobe full of handmade garments and just wearing them all the time. And so socks are taking a little bit of a back seat. But that's fine, because when I do knit on these, when I start knitting on these, I remember how addictive they are and I just get really excited and I'm enjoying them so much. I have changed to double pointed needles for this sock. I was knitting it on 2 circulars. I was using Knit Pro Symphonies, but one of them snapped. Boo. So I've now transferred it to some double pointed needles. These are my Knit Pro Zings. They're in the 2.25 size. And yeah, I'm really enjoying them. I'm hoping to get this finished soon. I'd like to clear out my my sock whips before the beginning of October, because I do have some other sock projects that I want to cast on, but more about that later. But the jelly rolls, they just fly off the needles when you get going. So I think a couple more days dedicated to these and they will be completely finished. Very, very, very much enjoying these as always. So my final work in progress this week is, as I said, a new cast on. And those of you who have been watching the podcast for a while are not going to be surprised at all as to which project that I have started now. Living in my pink hazel Harlequin bee bag, which I absolutely adore. And what I have cast on this past week is, oh my goodness, I'm halfway through a row. That's so unlike me, but anyway, it's the Risen cardigan by Melanie Berg, and yes, it doesn't look anything like a cardigan so far. Look at it. So it's quite dark, so it may be difficult for you to see, but the way that this cardigan is knit is that you knit the neckband along with the body of the jumper, the cardigan rather, it's a cardigan. So as you can see here, I have my textured neckband and then also the body of the cardigan, which is in stocking net stitch just beyond that. And I love it. I'm really enjoying it. The construction of this, again, I won't go into details as it's a paid for pattern, but the construction is really, really fun. It involves a provisional cast on, which is not a technique that I have ever used before. And to be honest, I was a little bamboozled the first time that I tried to do the provisional cast on, but by the kind of second time that I tried it, I was like, oh, this is actually really interesting. So that was fun, learning a new technique for this. But I just love it. It's growing quite slowly because it is a fingering weight yarn, which is a big difference to the other projects I've knitted recently. My Chuck sweater, this is worsted weight. My Sophie cardigan was in double knit. So going back to a fingering weight cardigan after using kind of big chunky yarns is really nice for some things because it's just a different feel under the fingers, which is really fun. But it is, it's working up a lot slower than a lot of other projects that I've been working on. But now that I have this as my only garment on my needles, I'm thinking that a lot of time is going to start going into this, which will hopefully make it grow a lot quicker. But I absolutely love it. And you may remember that the yarn that I'm making this with is actually a gradient set of yarn, which is by Woo Sheeps. I purchased this yarn at Fibre East, and you can see I have caked up all of the individual gradients. I'm sorry about the shine coming off the bag, but I'm keeping them in here to keep them in order now that they're all caked up. I want to say a huge thank you to everybody who gave me different advice as to how to use this gradient set effectively with the cardigan. And I have a couple of things that I think I'm going to try. One very definite idea, and if that doesn't work, I have a couple of backups. But it will involve me separating some of these cakes into smaller cakes in order to do my yarn management when I get onto sleeves. But at the moment, because I am just knitting this in one piece and the sleeves haven't even been separated yet, I do just have my original cake of yarn. This is the really nice dark grey. And this whole colourway set of gradients is called Stormy Monday. And I really, really like it. Oh, it's beautiful. This is BFL yarn. And going from using 100% merino for my Sophie cardigan and moving into BFL, It has been really, really nice, to be honest. This has a beautiful stitch definition for it. So the texture of this neckband is really showing up beautifully. You can kind of see it there. It's really, really satisfying to knit with that kind of yarn content with the BFL, because yes, it's not as soft as merino, definitely not. It's much more of a kind of hard wearing feeling yarn, but it still has softness. Just for the stitch definition, I'm really enjoying it because it's quite different from the merino that I have been using. And obviously Melanie Berg, the creator of the Void Shawl, I love her and think she's incredible, and therefore using another of her patterns is a really, really big thrill. I'm kind of turning into a bit of a designer groupie. Like, I have these designers that I really, really love and I want to knit all of their things. So far I've got Andy Sattel and Jennifer Wood and Melanie Berg. I'm a huge, huge fangirl of all of those designers. Totally geeking out a little bit over their designs. But yeah, now this is the only cardigan or sweater on my needles. It's getting a bit lonely. Maybe it's going to need a friend. Or a couple of friends. Anything to convince myself to cast on more garments, right? So moving on from knitting content, it's time for a little bit of sewing. So of course it's time for Sew What? And I've been doing sewing this week, sewing this week, sewing this week. I've been doing so much sewing and I've really been enjoying it. I am really, 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 really enjoying getting back to doing some sewing, in case you hadn't noticed. And I have been working on one project in particular this week. It's the same project that I talked about last week, and it is my birthday dress, which is the Robe Bluette dress, which is by Deer and Doe Patterns, and it's the cutest shirt dress in the entire world. And this last week I have put a serious dent into the construction of this dress. I am so in love with it, it's not even funny. I cannot wait to have this to wear on my birthday. And the good news is that even though I tend to leave finishing projects to the last possible minute, I am looking pretty good at that I'm going to finish not only in time, but with time to spare, which is a really, really, really good thing when it comes to me and sewing, because like I said, I tend to leave things right up to the last possible second. Let me show you how much I have done so far. Da, 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 da. This is so difficult to show. Basically, I have done the main construction of the dress. So the dress is sewn in panels. You have the front panel, the front side, the back side, and the back panel, and that happens on both sides of the dress. And all of those are sewn with these beautiful princess seams that go all the way from the top and all the way down to the bottom. It's difficult to see because obviously this fabric, my amazing fabric covered in beautiful, beautiful foxes, can't speak, beautiful foxes, can't really show up the seams that well because of the pattern, but I've done the main body construction. Oh, and by the way, this dress will forever now be known as my Foxy Lady dress. And I just wanted to thank Erin for posting the Foxy Lady song on last week's episode, because I've had that in my head every second that I have been making this dress. So Foxy Lady. This is the Foxy Lady dress now. But one of the things that I love about this dress is on the back we have this bow. So can you see that? If I pop my hand underneath it slightly easier. So this bow is sewn in to the seams on the back panel. It's just such a lovely touch, and it does tend to get lost in this pattern fabric, but I think that's just really cute. It's a nice little subtle element. All of my seams inside this dress have been finished, so if I can just pop it open, you can see that they're all serged and amazing, and they're also all top stitched. It's very difficult to see, but believe me, they have all been top stitched, which is really, really nice. And now I'm just on to the more fiddly bits of construction. So I have the sleeves and the collar. I have to finish up the hem with a facing, and then I need to do all of my buttonholes. But I'm very excited about the sleeves, as you may have seen from my recent Instagram post. I genuinely feel that these sleeves may be the cutest sleeves ever sewn in the history of the world, because look at them. Oh my goodness. So I talked last week about the fact that the amount of yardage that I had of the Fox in Foxgloves fabric, which I bought from M is for Make, which is an incredible fabric website, by the way, in case you want some of your own. I didn't have quite enough yardage to make the entire dress. So I substituted the collar and the cuffs and also the hem facing in a different colour. The facing, I'm just using a very plain black fabric to go around the bottom of the dress, but for the cuffs and the collar I decided to go for this white colour, and I just think it looks adorable. These sleeves, the construction of them is really clever. You have kind of this little gathering that goes inside the cuff, which just gives you this perfect little puffed sleeve, and I just love them. My next step will be inserting these sleeves into the dress and then finishing up the construction of the collar, which I do have as well, all ready to go. It's all pinned together and ready to sew. And then it'll just be 100 billion buttonholes because it is a shirt dress. The one problem with shirt dresses is that they do have a lot of buttonholes to sew, which I don't necessarily have a problem with doing, but it's not the most interesting thing to do, to sew buttonhole after buttonhole after buttonhole. But I do want to show you the buttons that I'm going to be using, which I've had in my stash for really quite some time, and I haven't had the perfect project for them. But they are these beautiful vintage glass buttons. It's got a little flower in it and they're glass. And I just think they're going to look really, really cute on this dress. They are quite teeny tiny, as you can see. Tiny little buttons. So they're going to be a bit of a bugger, probably, to sew on. But this was always going to be a very special project, as it is for my birthday, so I thought, why not use the special buttons that you've been storing up for a rainy day? I just wanted to talk a little bit more about Deer and Doe patterns and my experience of using this, as this is the first Deer and Doe pattern that I have ever used. Last week I kind of talked about the fact that so far I'm really enjoying using it. I like the pattern pieces that they come on strong paper. I was a little disappointed at the size variety in the pattern. I had a couple more thoughts about using this pattern since I've started sewing up the dress. For one thing, there are some construction elements within this pattern which are just amazing. They excite me, they're different, they're intriguing, and they're really fun to sew up. I don't want to talk about them in a huge amount of detail because again it's a paid for pattern, but the cuff construction is really, really fun. The facing around the hem is a really nice, interesting touch, and I also love the way that the dress is looking as it's coming together. It is a really, really fun sew, and I think in a lot of ways Deer and Doe is a brilliant pattern just for being very innovative but still classic, and it's just been really, really fun to put together. However, I honestly don't think that these patterns are designed with a large amount of sewers in mind, and I say that because when going through the step-by-step, the instruction book, which you do get with all patterns like this, the instructions I do think were very thin on the ground. If you are a more experienced seamstress, you're not necessarily going to struggle. But even and I've been sewing for a very long time, had to reread the steps a couple of times just to make sure I completely understood what they were talking about. There are a few illustrations to show different things, but a lot of them I didn't find particularly clear. And I think it's kind of sad that for a pattern that is so lovely and gorgeous, and I don't know if you've ever looked at their website, but it's full of beautiful things. You know, I'd very happily buy a whole bunch of their patterns and sew them up, but it's a little sad that the kind of instructions don't necessarily match the standard of the design. They're not terrible instructions, they're not incorrect, but they are, like I said, thin on the ground. And I think, to be honest, if I were a beginner sewer and I opened up this pattern and read those instructions, I'd be very disheartened and I would feel nervous about pursuing with the construction of the garment, which is a real shame because like I said, they're beautiful. So that's just my opinion. I would definitely buy from them in the future, but I would bear that in mind that if you are probably starting up sewing and you haven't done that much before, Deer and Doe may be something that you want to work up to when you have a little bit more experience. In terms of what I have kind of planned in the next week or so to get sewn up, my number one priority that I really want to do is to finally make the Agnes top, and this is a pattern by Tilly and the Buttons. I'm a huge fan of Tilly and the Buttons patterns, and I really want to get this top done. I have a couple of striped jerseys that I really want to use for this pattern. I just think I'll live in them all the time and it's going to be amazing. I'm really excited to get these cut out and hopefully sewn up. Interestingly enough, I think that Tilly is going to have a stand at the knitting and stitching show that I'm going to in a couple of weeks. And she's just brought out a new pattern, which is another kind of shirt dress pattern, which is gorgeous, that I definitely want to get my hands on. It's called the Rosa dress. I just love her patterns, and the more that I work with her patterns, and also I have her book, Love at First Stitch, the more I want to make of her kind of designs. I just think she's wonderful. And in comparison to Deer and Doe, Tilly's instructions are incredible. If you've never sewn anything before, you'll have no problems whatsoever working on her patterns. And yeah, even if you are a very experienced sewer, they are a joy to work with. So yes, this will be my next project, most definitely. And then I have a whole bunch of other things that I'm going to be working on soon. But first and foremost, it's all about the Agnes top. So watch this space, because fingers crossed, I should be expanding my handmade wardrobe quite significantly very soon. Sewing is the best, sewing is the best, sewing is the best. I love it. Completely in love with sewing again. Really, just love it. Could spend every waking hour sewing and then knitting and then sewing again. That'd be a great way to spend the day. I have a couple more segments left, you guys, and very excitingly, coming up next is reviewing the situation. I have a little review for you guys this week. And this week I'm really happy to be able to be reviewing a very special book by a very special lady. This is Lazy Sunday by Jane Burns, and is a collection of 5 indulgent beaded sock patterns. Jane got in touch with me and asked if I would like to review a copy of her book, and obviously I said yes. I was pretty intrigued by the idea of beaded socks. To be perfectly honest, I have never considered in my life knitting a pair of beaded socks. I have done beaded knitting before. I have a beaded shawl that I did, and I very much enjoyed the beading process. But I didn't necessarily think that socks were a place where beads belonged. A lot of the time when I'm knitting socks, I knit them for comfort, for coziness, and I didn't necessarily think that beads went into that kind of realm of knitting. So I was very intrigued when Jane was telling me about her sock patterns, and I was really interested in actually seeing her book in real life. For one thing, it's adorable. Look at it. It's just welcoming from the very first picture. It makes you want to pick it up and open it, which is exactly what I did. And I'm just going to kind of tell you a little bit about this pattern collection. So Jane is a huge fan of sock knitting, and she's been designing sock patterns since 2009. And the idea behind this book, Lazy Sunday, is that these are the kind of beautiful, indulgent sock patterns that you can knit for yourself at the weekend in the luxurious way of just having time for yourself to do something really decadent. And I love that idea. Every single one of these sock patterns is named after a lyric from the song Lazy Sunday by Small Faces, which is incidentally the music that I put on when I was starting to read through this originally. It seemed appropriate because Jane says that music is her constant companion. It's the soundtrack to her creativity and relaxation. And so when she was designing these socks, I'm pretty sure that that song Lazy Sunday by Small Faces was probably going round and round on your playlist, Jane, I would imagine. But let me talk you through the different patterns. There are 5 different sock patterns in this book, and they kind of go from very simple to more intricate. So there's a definite progression of the patterns through the book, which is great. The first one is called Sitting in a Rainbow, and it's the most simplistic of all of the patterns. It's a quite simple sock with a little bit of lace designing around this lovely area here with a few beads thrown in for good measure, and I think it would be a really nice starting point for people who haven't necessarily worked with beads in knitting before and who just haven't done a pair of knitted socks. It's really simple and very pretty. The next pattern is called No Room for Ravers, and this is one of my particular favourites from the book. It has this beautiful kind of scalloped lace pattern that goes up the front of the sock and also goes up the back, I believe, but it is so pretty. And can we just talk about the styling of this picture? Because I am a huge fan of kind of fun coloured tights. I tend to wear them quite a lot. So the idea of wearing a pair of more neutral socks over some orange tights with a skirt just really made me very, very happy. The next design is called Nothing to Say, and it's a combination of eyelets and cables and lace. And again, it's super, super cute. Nice, fun, multicolored tight styling going on again. I have to say that when I was looking through this pattern book, the styling really won me over. I'm someone who makes a lot of decisions based on the aesthetics of things. I find it difficult to look beyond the image that I'm given a lot of the time, which can be quite frustrating because it means that if I don't like the styling of a pattern, it will automatically turn me off to that. But this book is perfect for its title, this lazy Sunday, this cozy, oh, sit down and enjoy some knitting and have a lovely time. Everything has been really, really well thought out, and that just speaks to me on pretty much every level. The next pattern is called No Mind to Worry, and it's actually the pattern that's included on the front cover. And just look at that. It's beautiful. All these kind of almost leaf-like lace patterns. Absolutely love that one. The final pattern is called Drift Away. And again, we have some fabulous styling with some burgundy tights, but these ones have a lot more rib detailing together with some cables and some eyelets over my face. They're beautiful. Every single one of these patterns is really delicate, really interesting, but also the thing that really appeals to me on a personal level is that with or without beads, I think that they would be incredibly special socks to knit. Personally, I absolutely adore these patterns. I think they're fantastic, but I couldn't see myself adding beads to my socks just because I would be a lot more hesitant to wear beaded socks. They'd feel a lot more fancy, like I need to save them for a more special occasion. And therefore, I think when I knit some of these socks, because I will be knitting them, that I'm going to probably leave the beads out. But the lovely thing about these patterns is that with or without the beads, they are special and beautiful. My personal favourites of the pattern collection are No Room for Ravers and Nothing to Say. Those are definitely the socks that I could see myself casting on in the very near future. No Room for Ravers, I think, is my personal favourite at the moment. And I do have a couple of skeins of slightly more variegated yarns that I think will probably be coming some beautiful lacy socks in the near future. So to conclude about Lazy Sunday, I'm a huge fan of the aesthetics. The photography is beautiful. I just think it's a really lovely collection. Everything's been thought out really well, and the second that I open this up, it makes me want to snuggle down and knit a pair of beautiful socks. And therefore I think that it's doing its job really, really well. So I want to thank Jane for sending me this book to review. It's getting a very, very big thumbs up for me. And with or without beads, I think these sock patterns are beautiful. But that's not all, guys, because along with the copy that Jane sent to me to review, she has also sent an additional copy, a hard copy of this book for one of you lovely guys to enjoy. So I'm going to be opening up a giveaway thread in the Ravelry group. And all you have to do to enter this competition is subscribe to my channel here, head over to the Inside Number 23 Ravelry group and join, go to that giveaway thread and answer the following question. What would your idea of a perfect lazy Sunday be? So I want you guys to tell me what your lazy Sunday, your perfect, luxurious, me-time lazy Sunday would be. Post that in the Ravelry group and I will announce the winner of this competition when I return from my little birthday break. So you're going to have an extra week to enter this competition than usual. So yay, you could win a copy of this book and knit some amazing, gorgeous, beautiful socks. And just to be the complete cherry on the top of the cake, Jane has incredibly generously also given us a coupon code for the e-copy of this book. So this coupon code is not eligible, unfortunately, to buy the hard copy, but if you just want the e-copy, you can use the code ROLLY20, which will give you a 20% discount on the e-copy of this book. And that's ROLLY in capital letters 20. And thank you so much, Jane. That is just incredibly generous of you. So even if you don't end up winning the one copy that I have to give away, you could still get hold of this at 20% off. Incidentally, if you do want to get a copy of the physical book like this, if you prefer to have a nice solid book, which I admit is a really, really lovely thing to have, then head over to Jane's Etsy shop. And with that, you also get a little download code for the e-copy of the book as well. So you get the best of both worlds, really. But remember, the discount code is only eligible if you purchase the e-copy of the book through Ravelry. I will obviously put all of the links for all of this information down below and in my show notes on Ravelry. But thank you so much, Jane, for sharing your beautiful set of patterns with me and with all of you lovely people. And get on over to Ravelry and enter the giveaway because you really want a copy of this. Believe me, you want it, you need it. So guys, we are nearly at the end of my podcast, and of course that means it's time for General Waffle. General Waffle. And this week's General Waffle is a slightly more reflective one, I think. I don't have any special guests or anything like that going on. It's just going to be a little bit of me waffling about some stuff that I want to talk about. I tend to get a little more reflective around this time of year. I know that I've talked about the fact that I really, really love autumn and that it's a special time for me. It reminds me of getting excited about going back to school because yes, I used to get excited about going back to school when I was a kid. It's always just been a time of year that's for new beginnings for me. Within the last few years, just to put it into perspective, 4 years ago, Emrys and I moved in together for the first time. We moved into a flat in London. 3 years ago, around about this time, Emrys proposed to me. 2 years ago, we had just bought this house and we were planning our wedding and we were about to get married. And about a year ago at this time, we had just got Rolly, which was amazing. But also this time last year was the first time ever that I listened to a knitting podcast, which was the Curious Handmade podcast with lovely Helen Stewart. Hi Helen, if you're watching. And it was the first time that I realised that knitting podcasts were a thing. Yeah, it's a very interesting time of reflection and thinking about where I've come from and where I want to go. And that's always been, for me, what this time of year is about. Bearing that in mind, I've recently been thinking about the way that I live my life, the way that I do things, and I've been wanting to make a few changes. They're actually making a huge difference in my mental health, in my happiness, in my mindfulness, and I just wanted to share little things that I have been kind of implementing in terms of change in my life recently. So the first one is actually something that I started thinking about after listening to lovely Helen's podcast, which is the Curious Handmade podcast. Helen has been talking about recently the fact that she no longer has a mobile phone in her bedroom at night. And she said it's making a huge difference to her to not have her phone by her bed, so she can't sit there at night kind of swiping through Instagram, which we all love to do, let's be honest. And I realised this is a real problem that I suffer from as well. I can spend about an hour going through various social media apps on my phone. And I'm not even really looking for anything specific. It's just going on that phone because it's there and because it's easy to do. So what I've decided to do is very much along the lines of what Helen has done. So thank you, Helen, for the inspiration. And I am no longer leaving my phone plugged in next to my bed. It's still going to be in the bedroom because we don't actually have a landline in the house. So I like to have the phone in the room in case of emergencies if someone needs to call at night. But it's being plugged in on the opposite end of the bedroom to where I am in bed. It's not allowed to be used in the bed any longer. What I'm hoping that this is going to do is basically to encourage me to sleep when I need to sleep, to if I wake up in the morning, rather than to just sit languishing in my bed, to actually get up and do things if I want to read a book, to pick up my knitting, to go downstairs and have a cup of tea and have breakfast, to actually be more a part of my physical life than just being constantly tied to my phone. And I know that's a bit odd coming from someone who does post on YouTube and does a lot of videoing and does use social media a lot for what I do with the podcast, but I think I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it has a time and a place. And it's come to the point in my life where I need to take control of that again. I'll keep you up to date as to how I get on with this whole process, because it is going to be an adjustment. I am very much of the social media generation. I'm quite reliant on my phone and I feel anxious when it's not by my side, but fingers crossed this could be the start of something awesome and I'm really excited about it. And there's one last thing that I wanted to talk about in this more reflective waffle, and that is something that Emrys and I have started doing recently that's become really, really special and important to me. And it started with a little thing called the pumpkin spice latte. And I know, guys, there's some of you out there who are probably groaning because you are fed up of hearing about the pumpkin spice latte at this time of year, and I understand. It's not for everyone, but for me, I was never a coffee fan. To be honest, I didn't enjoy coffee, and then the second I tried the pumpkin spice latte, my life changed, and I am now a slave to the deliciousness of the pumpkin spice latte. But something amazing and really sweet that has come out of my new addiction to said drink is that Emrys and I now have something that we want to share pretty much every day. Emrys makes himself coffee pretty much every morning. We have a coffee machine downstairs, but I would never have coffee in the morning. I'd just be like, oh no, I don't want that. We've started now, since I need to have the pumpkin spice latte pretty much every morning, which I know is terrible, but bear with me. Emrys and I make sure that we get up together in the morning. We walk to Starbucks, which is not that far away from where we live, around about a 15-minute walk. We go together. We're not on our phones. We talk about our days. We talk about the days that we had yesterday, the day that we're expecting to have that day. We go and get our coffee together. If we can, we'll sit in Starbucks and we'll drink our coffee together and talk. And then we'll go on and start our days. And it's just been one of the most special things that we've done as a couple in a very long time. Emrys and I have been together for 7 years now, which I know for a lot of people isn't that long, but it's the only relationship that I've ever had. And after a certain amount of time, particularly when you're married, when you're living together, when you stay with each other 24/7 and you see each other all the time, some of the magic that you had when you first started going out and that you first started being together, kind of really committed to each other, does tend to go away a little bit. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just life. Life just happens. But having these little special moments with each other day to day, when we actively want to go together to get our coffees, to spend time together, when we're not glued to our phones, when we're actually having proper human conversation, has been so special, and I treasure it. It's pretty much my favourite time of day now, going to get coffee with my husband and having our little coffee dates. And I just think sometimes it can be the smallest thing, the simplest thing that brings you that much joy. And that's kind of what I'm taking into this season, as it always feels like the start of the season, the start of the year almost, like it used to be with school. And I just want to keep that feeling and keep going forward with that feeling and just finding that little bit of magic, that little bit of spark in everything on a regular basis. It makes such a huge difference. So yeah, guys, that was my general waffle this week. Definitely waffling on about random stuff, but that's everything that I have for you for this week. Like I said, there's not going to be an episode next week, and I'm sorry about that, but I'm very much looking forward to birthday fun time. Can't wait, can't wait. And I'm going to have some very exciting bits and pieces coming up in the near future with Vlogtober, and also there might be a super special little additional vlog series that's coming up soon that I'm very excited. So as always, if you've liked the video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel if you want to be kept up to date when I have new videos. As always, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me. It means the world. I know that there are a lot of podcasters out there now, and the fact that you would want to come and spend your time with me means everything. So thank you. I love you all. I hope you all have an incredible 2 weeks until I see you again. Happy sewing, happy knitting, and I will see you soon. Bye. I'm like a knitted turtle.